Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Rux, I'm Western Tropical Astrologer, and today we are going to be talking about the new moon in Capricorn coming up on the 18th of January at 7:51 p.m. GMT time. Of course, you can adjust that for your own time zone. This new moon, folks, is happening at 28 degrees 43 minutes of Capricorn. What does that mean? It means that if you have planets, angles, important points in your chart, such as the North Node, around let's say 26, 27, 28, 29 degrees, the closer, the stronger the impact. Around these degrees of the cardinal signs, you are going to feel the new moon the most. What are the cardinal signs? Of course, Capricorn, Cancer, Aries, and Libra. If you have no clue what I'm talking about your natal chart. So in your natal chart, you have multiple planets, each of them placed at different degrees of the zodiac signs. How can you find out what your natal chart looks like? You can generate it online using free websites such as astro.com or astro-seek.com. I do not recommend using AI to generate your natal chart, because one of the most popular AI tools out there, ChatGPT, does tend to make a lot of mistakes when it comes to calculating natal charts, just as an FYI. So please use a free online natal chart generator to see what your natal chart looks like. You can input your date, time, and place of birth, and it will give you your map of the sky at the time when you were born. And there will also be a list of your planetary placements and also the degrees of your angles. Those are also super, super important. The angles are the ascendant, descendant, and the midheaven IC. So, not every single astrological event is going to impact us. We will not feel them all, because that would be, let's face it, way too much. We only feel the astrological events that activate our natal placements, that activate our natal chart by degree, which is why I always in my videos make a point of mentioning, especially when it comes to the lunations, the new moons, the full moons, mentioning at what degrees these are happening. Of course, you might still feel this new moon and other new moons, but maybe to a lesser extent. It might feel less impactful than if it were to trigger your natal placements directly. So let's say you have planets around 15 degrees of Capricorn in your chart. You might still feel this new moon, I repeat, but not as strong as someone who had, let's say, their sun at 27 degrees of Capricorn. So I hope that makes sense. Who will enjoy this new moon the most? Those of you who have planets or angles around, or important points, around 26, 27, 28 degrees of the earth signs, obviously, so Taurus and Virgo. But also those of you who have planetary placements or angles or important points around the same degrees of Pisces and Scorpio. So this new moon will form some harmonious aspects with your natal chart. The new moon is going to be ruled by Saturn in Pisces. It's a very, very important new moon if you ask me, because it's the last lunation. Let me see if I am correct. No, actually, let me just double check that before I give you the wrong information. I wanted to say it's the last new moon. I think, yes, it is the last new moon ruled by Saturn in Pisces for the next good few decades. Let's see if Saturn rules the full moon coming up. So that is another thing that I wanted to double check for you folks. So we will indeed have a, you could say Saturn is still active at the full moon coming up on the 1st of February, even though it's not the dispositor of the full moon, because that full moon is going to happen in Leo, so it will be ruled by the sun, but the sun will be in Aquarius, which is another Saturn-ruled sign. However, let's go back to this too much technical information. I imagine for some folks, you just want to figure out what is this new moon about. So let's go back to this new moon coming up on the 18th of January, ruled by Saturn in Pisces. It will indeed be the last new moon ruled by Saturn in Pisces for the next few decades. Saturn will be forming a harmonious aspect with both Uranus in Taurus and the new moon itself. Not only that, Saturn is very, very close to the conjunction with Neptune. It will also form a harmonious aspect to Mars and Mercury, also in Capricorn. Now, what does that all mean? So you've heard me say the word harmonious several times, okay? And that is important. That is significant. Essentially, it looks like this new moon is very strongly focused on building something enduring, something that will stand the test of time, something that will potentially be seen as legacy, as an inheritance, as something to pass on to generations to come. There's a lot of cooperation in the sky, so to speak, and that will be reflected, as above, so below, that will be reflected in the energies unfolding in our mundane lives, especially at a collective level. We can expect to see collaboration between authorities, businesses, entrepreneurs potentially as well, major institutions, potentially major state institutions. I'm also looking at collaborations between authorities, maybe businesses, and innovators or actors for change and progress, or actors focused or parties focused on change and progress. Because it's a new moon ruled by Saturn, we can expect a new foundation to be set up. But boy, will the results take a long time to materialize. So we're not expecting things to happen overnight. We are not expecting miracles overnight. We are not expecting to see things be set into motion. Or actually, they will be set in motion immediately, but we should not expect concrete, tangible, visible results immediately. The reason why I do believe things will probably be set in motion quite rapidly is because of the involvement of Mars in Capricorn. It looks like a plan is being implemented, and it may take years possibly to see the end results. But this is a major step forward towards progress. It does seem to be a new moon focused on progress, focused on maybe dissolving the old foundation and putting in place a new set of rules. Like I said, a more innovative, future-focused, future-oriented, maybe technologically driven foundation. Okay? Now, this new moon is also very business-focused, aka Q in Capricorn, right? And I'm talking about it at a collective level. So lots of focus on businesses. There might also be a focus on austerity. I am going to say it. I took a moment to say it, but I will say it. Capricorn sets a goal. So this is actually a great time to set goals, long-term goals especially, for everyone in multiple or in several placements, in several sort of like parts of our charts, depending on what our natal chart looks like. So this is a good time to set goals, but goals that involve an element of sacrifice, an element of giving up on something, an element of surrendering something, an element of dissolving something, an element of austerity, okay? Now I'm going to give you one example. And I know this might not feel very big, very impactful, but essentially in my personal life, I decided to do for the first quarter of the year, January, February, March, a low buy challenge. What does that mean? It means that I've decided to only purchase absolutely essential things for myself. No things that I don't actually need. So if I've run out of something, like shampoo, of course I'm going to buy it, but I will not buy inessential things. So no nice to haves, okay? No new jewelry, new clothes, or whatnot, because we do not need more stuff for the most part. So that is an example of setting a goal that involves an element of sacrifice or austerity or giving up on something, and a very, very important element of discipline as well. Like I said, the example that I've given you is maybe very small, but think about ways in which you can commit to something that means a lot to you, but that involves cutting things out. So cut things out, folks. It is a very practical new moon. I'm going to say it. Everyone's grounded. Everyone's thinking about practical realities of life, the sort of tangible, material aspects of life, and especially about what is going to endure, what is going to stand the test of time. It is a new moon focused on planning, structuring, restructuring, and narrowing our focus. Again, I have to keep on mentioning the discipline element, but also the sort of concentration, zooming in element that this new moon brings onto our radars. New rules, the establishment is coming into play as well at a collective level. We might hear news about new beginnings involving the pharmaceutical industries, maybe because Saturn is in Pisces and also in conjunction with Neptune, there could be news or new rules connected with water, the oceans, etc. There might also, at a collective level, be a very strong focus on not just the pharmaceutical industries, but also the medical industries in general, and the artistic industries as well. Possibly also the spiritual side of life. But again, I'm thinking of maybe the practical elements of the spiritual side of life, such as we might hear of a new spiritual leader being chosen or coming into play with a new approach, maybe a more tolerant approach, a more accepting approach. It's possible. It is very possible. You have to remember also, folks, especially if you're new to my channel, that astrology does not predict concrete material manifestation. Astrology is only symbolically and archetypally predictive, okay? So I always give scenarios as to how the energy can play out, but no one has a crystal ball. And if anyone claims to have a crystal ball, then you should be very, very cautious and reluctant when it comes to believing them. Very skeptical, especially at the time of this new moon in Capricorn. So how can we use the energy of the new moon? And how can we use astrology in general? Align yourselves, folks, with the energy. And I'm going to give you ideas. I'm going to offer possible scenarios as I go through the updates for each of the 12 zodiac signs. But alas, that is how we make the most of astrology on a day-to-day basis. Astrology is like the cosmic weather forecast, okay? I do believe it's good to have a plan and to set it in motion at the time of this new moon. I also want to mention, folks, that the new moon is generally representative of a new, it symbolizes a new beginning. And sometimes it's not very, 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 very clear at the beginning of things how everything's gonna pan out, how everything's going to play out. But as the months start to unfold, it might become increasingly clear, oh, this is what this was about. Oh, this is how things are eventually going to work themselves out. Before we go into the updates for each of the 12 zodiac signs, I do want to share, maybe with those of you who are here for the first time on my channel, and also a reminder for those of you who have been watching me for some time, that if you want to work with me, if you want to book a personal astrological reading, a personal astrological consultation, you can do that via my website, which is both You're going to find it both in the pinned comment as well as in the description box. My website is written in the stars-astrology.com. So once again, written in the stars-astrology.com. When is a good time to book an astrological reading? If you are asking yourselves, if you're at a crossroads, if you are at a time when you need to make big life decisions. Is this the right time to do XYZ? Is this the right time to take a leap of faith? Is this the right time to grow my business? Is this the right time to change career paths? What are some of the potential challenges that I can expect to find along the way? So if you are at an important moment in time in your life, astrology can absolutely help by making you aware of the grand scheme of things, of your lessons, of, like I said, potential challenges to be on the lookout for, things that work in your favor, elements that are supportive, elements that are helpful. But if you're not at a crossroads, if you want to learn more about what is your mission and purpose in this lifetime, where should you channel your energy, how can you make the most of the cards that you have been dealt, what are your karmic lessons in general, what are you here to learn, how can you be the best version of yourselves. I know it is a cheesy thing to say, but I am a big believer in the fact that our purpose is to fulfill our potential. And that doesn't mean being very sort of like narrowly self-centered and selfish and self-focused. On the contrary, your purpose can be connected with helping others. Your purpose can be connected with, for instance, being a parent. So fulfilling our potential can take many, many, many different forms. So once again, you know where to find me, written in the stars-astrology.com. Do keep in mind that from the time when you make the payment on my website, afterwards, please, using the contact form, send me your date, time, and place of birth. And I will send you timing options for us to schedule our session. Do take keep in mind the fact that from the moment that you pay until the moment when we actually meet, there is a waiting time. So I generally post on my website at the very top of the page in red what my calendar looks like, and the waiting time generally varies between a month. Sometimes it's a little bit less, but most times it's around a month, maybe even a little bit longer than that. There is an emergency reading option as well on my website, emergency astrology plus tarot reading option. If you are in a rush, then you can obviously go for that service. So written in the stars-astrology.com. By the way, if you've been following my channel, you know that I do monthly horoscopes, okay? And if the information that I give in the monthly horoscopes is useful, I've heard people, they take notes. I've heard people, they sort of schedule things based off of the info in those longer videos. I have teamed up with an app which is called Astro in Calendar. Astro in Calendar. You can also find the link to it in the pinned comment and in the description box. It is a subscription-based app. There's also a short free trial period. And what that does is it extracts based off of your ascendant, based off of your rising sign. So you need to know what your rising sign is. It extracts from my monthly forecasts the most important astrological events for the month for your sign, and it adds them to your own calendar. Whether you use Google Calendar or Outlook Calendar, it adds them as events in your own calendar, and when you click on them, you also get the description from the video, so you don't have to take notes, you don't have to do that manually. So once again, Astro in Calendar, I think it's a really neat and straightforward service to use. You don't need to download any other things onto your phone, onto your computer and whatnot. It's basically something that plugs into your own calendar, and you've got the most important astrological events for your rising sign slotted in there. And now, of course, we shall go to the update for each of the 12 zodiac signs. And if you know me, I always recommend listening to the update for your rising sign, because that is how these general forecasts are built, with the rising sign in mind, okay? If you don't know your rising sign, obviously you can listen to the update for your sun sign, but I repeat, finding out what your rising sign is so that you can make the most out of these. And without further ado, my dear Aries, Aries suns and Aries risings. 18th of January, active 3 days before, 3 days after. This new moon in Capricorn is putting the spotlight on your 10th house. Oh boy. So, fresh start, new beginning, new chapter, new intentions, new direction. When it comes to your professional sector, for most people, this is going to be about profession. I will say, Aries, especially Aries risings. Where do you want to go, career-wise? What is next for you? What is it that you need to announce to the world from a professional standpoint? Do you need to update your LinkedIn? Do you need to let the world know that you've been working on something behind the scenes, that you've been prepping something behind the scenes, that you've had something kind of going on under the radar, and now you're ready to release it to the outside world. Maybe it's your portfolio, maybe it's a new website, maybe it's a new job title, maybe you've been kind of like secretly interviewing for a promotion. Whatever it is, it is time to share it with the world. It could be something that, I repeat, has been in the works for a while. So maybe it's not a completely new thing, but maybe it is new in the eyes of the world. Maybe it feels like your public image, your public status, your public reputation is evolving and changing. I do believe you are actually very optimistic when it comes to this shift. Probably because whatever new chapter you're embarking upon, it is coming into your life with more money. You feel excited about using your skills in new ways. And there is an element of letting go, maybe of letting go of an old job title, maybe of letting go of an old industry, maybe of letting go of some fears connected with what you could do from a professional perspective. Let them go. If you have to let them go, my dear Aries. Now, if you're not working, if this is not relevant to the stage of life that you're in, this new moon can be a fresh start when it comes to your contribution to society. What does that mean? Maybe you start volunteering. Maybe you start doing more charity. Maybe you become involved with a local charity, maybe a local hospital. The reason why I keep on mentioning volunteering is because the new moon is ruled by Saturn in the 12th house, and the 12th house does have an element of giving back selflessly to society. So think about the ways in which you can give back selflessly to societies. Maybe you decide to start off something and it's not professional. Maybe it's got something to do with what feels like your vocation in this lifetime, which is not always 100% aligned with our professional path or with what our job looks like, okay? Maybe you want to start off something. Maybe you want to start your own community or organization that deals with matters that have hurt you or plagued you in the past, and you are ready to take action and to kind of, as cheesy as it might sound, make the world a better place based off of what you had to go through. What I do want to flag, my dear Aries, is now is the time for action. You've been planning enough. You've been planning enough. You know what the plan is. You've been mulling it over, and it is time to take off, okay? My dear Taurus, Taurus suns and Taurus risings. 18th of January, active 3 days before, 3 days after. This new moon in Capricorn is putting the spotlight on your 9th house. Oh, this is very interesting. And it is ruled by Saturn in the 11th house. My lovely Taurians. So this feels like a fresh start when it comes to your worldview and your belief system. Your life philosophy is going through a big shift. Maybe it's been sort of like a while in the making, okay? So maybe it's something that you've been kind of like building up to in the past few years. And now you realize, looking back, how much your mentality, how much your belief system has evolved. As a result of that, you might decide to do a few things. Set new goals. You might decide to do a little bit of cleaning up in your circle, so to speak. So maybe take some distance from certain people, from certain communities, from certain organizations. You might also decide to take more seriously your involvement with certain communities, with certain organizations, with your peers. So you might decide to take on sort of new responsibilities connected with a community, connected with a group of people. At the same time, it does feel like you're not going to be able this is anyone in Capricorn. It's all about zooming in, okay? It's about being realistic. You're probably not going to be able to pursue maybe all of the goals that you thought you would pursue potentially this year. So narrow down your focus so that you don't burn yourselves out. There's also a possibility this new moon can bring in a fresh start connected with your academic path. Maybe you are being accepted in a prestigious academic institution. Maybe you are being introduced as a figure of authority, maybe as a guide, as a teacher, as a mentor within an educational space. So maybe you're the one kind of guiding and teaching others. This new moon can also bring in a fresh start, and it feels like a moment of relief, like you're free somehow. It feels like it's bringing in a fresh start where you're giving up on something that maybe you thought would be part of your future, but now you realize you either don't want it anymore or it's not as meaningful for you as it used to be in the past, and you are not mad at all. You're like, I don't care. I am ready to get this out of my life. I'm ready to clean things up. Last but not least, some Taurians, Taurus risings especially, might start off a new chapter that involves traveling for work, traveling for your studies possibly, maybe also traveling in order to invest more in an important relationship in your life. So it could be a business relationship, but it could also be a personal relationship possibly that you feel like investing more in. And that is Taurus. My dear Geminis, Gemini suns, and Gemini risings, 18th of January, active. 3 days before, 3 days after, we've got a new moon in your 8th house. Oh my days. Geminis, it is time to do a proper cleanup to basically set new rules, new guidelines, a new structure, maybe a spreadsheet when it comes to your debts, taxes, loans, but also investments. Maybe also commissions if you work on a commission basis. So if you kind of like get a percentage out of whatever it is that you make for your clients. So new spreadsheet, new structure, time to kind of like do things by the book in this space, to keep things neat and proper and tidy. This could be a time when you actually let go of, or you start the process, let me put it this way, you start the process of letting go of some of your existing debts. So maybe you start off an important new role and it pays more and you're happy and you're like, okay, I'm gonna kick off the process of clearing out my credit card debt. For instance, that is very much a possibility. I do believe you're very motivated to take action on this front, the debt front or the maybe investments front. By the way, this is not financial advice. Please take this as pure entertainment only. You're completely responsible for what you do with your financial situation. This new moon can also bring a fresh start when it comes to joint financial matters. What do I mean by that? Or joint sort of material matters in general. So if you have a business partner or if you have a life partner and you're pooling resources together, you sort of, oh gosh, I don't know if this is the right metaphor, but you have kind of like a finger in each other's pies when it comes to the financial situation of each of your, let's say, maybe respective businesses. So maybe you're business collaborators. I believe it's time to maybe set up a new agreement, a new contract. If this is your life partner, you might want to sit down and say, okay, we have some clear goals together in terms of what we want to purchase. Maybe you want to purchase something, something big. Maybe you want to purchase a new home. Maybe you want to purchase an additional property. Maybe you want to sell a property. So whatever it is that you want to do together with someone else from a financial perspective, now is the time to sit down, talk about it, take action, make a plan, and make a plan that involves sort of like smaller steps. That would be my recommendation. The other thing is this new moon for Gemini risings especially can bring a transformation, can bring a reset in terms of several aspects of your lives, Geminis. There can be a transformation maybe that your partner is experiencing from a financial standpoint. Let's say you're married and your partner comes in and says, I'm going to give up on my job because I want to be a stay-at-home parent, or I want to go for a master's degree. So you might need to kind of like revisit the family budget as a result of that. Another possible transformation could come in when it comes to your work, when it comes to bosses, leaders, managers. There could be a transformation of the sort of vision that leadership has for the future of the company and so on. There might also be a transformation that sort of takes shape when it comes to your inner world, Geminis. What is this transformation about? You might start caring less about what the world says, about your life direction, your career path, your choices when it comes to any of these. And it might feel very freeing. I will say, it can feel really, really, really freeing. But at the same time, it might also feel like it's bringing in a whole new set of responsibilities and commitments that you have to make to yourselves, Geminis. My dear Cancerians, Cancer suns and Cancer risings, my fellow Cancerians, shall I say? Obviously, I will say it because, hey, I'm a Cancer rising myself. 18th of January, active 3 days before, 3 days after. We've got a new one in Capricorn, activating your 7th house of partnerships. Partnerships and collaborations. Partnerships and collaborations is where it's at. New partnership, new collaboration. There is a very high chance, Cancerians, that you're going to start working with someone new. I'm thinking of a new business collaborator, maybe a new important client. The new moon is going to be conjunct Mars, which is the ruler of your house of career, which is why I believe this is the start of a new professional relationship, okay? This new moon in particular. If you've been meaning to work with someone and you've been thinking, oh, shall I reach out to them? Shall I send them a note? Is it too much? Is it too bold? Is it too daring of me? I say be bold and be daring and send that note and reach out to these people, because there's a very high chance that they will want to work with you. Of course, I recommend being super kind of like serious and action focused and business focused and goal oriented, because that's going to increase your chances of this person wanting to work with you. But alas, I do believe they are inclined to kind of say yes, and they want to be on your team. You might also start working with someone that will help you accomplish your career goals in general. It could be, I don't know, financial advisor. It could be a new accountant. It could be a life coach. It could be an astrologer. I mean, have your pick, my dear Cancerians. I believe this person brings in a very, very kind of important mentality and worldview and philosophy, and also a very important set of experiences that is going to help you accomplish what you've set out to accomplish. And that will also potentially shift your perspective on many of the things that you've thought about doing in a certain way, and this person comes in and says, no, there's actually a better way to get all of this done. For some people, for some Cancerians maybe who have been dating someone for a long time or who have been with someone for a long time, this new moon can also bring a fresh start in terms of the relationship being taken to the next level, and there being a really clear set of next steps for what this new level, this new chapter is going to involve. So maybe there's talks about moving in together, buying a house, scheduling a wedding, etc., etc., etc. You seem to be really happy about how things are turning out, Cancerians. I do have to say this, and you seem to be very sort of like relieved in a way that your efforts have not gone to waste. There's also a possibility that generally you might kind of see relationships, not just with romantic partners, but with people in general, in a different light. And you might have that aha moment where you realize how much they value your expertise, how much they value your experience, and you might take some sort of action based off of that. Last but not least, this new moon can also generally put the spotlight on other people in your life, important people in your life, such as your life partner or your business partner or an important client. And something new is coming into their lives. And they're saying, hey, I want you on board. Maybe it's your spouse kicking off like a new job. And they're like, oh, yes, I do want you on board, but we have to move someplace else. So based off of things that are going on, important things, practical things, maybe professional things going on in the life of maybe a significant other or a partner in general, your future is experiencing a shift, like a change, maybe more travel, maybe new goals, maybe a major sort of like big plan for the future. I repeat, you're super happy. I have no clue what this is going to be about, Cancer risings, but do let me know. Do let me know in the comments, because I think you're going to have reasons to celebrate. Leo suns and Leo risings, 18th of January, active. 3 days before, 3 days after. This new moon is putting the spotlight on your 6th house of work, health, day-to-day habits, routines, rituals. And this new moon is going to be ruled by Saturn in your 8th house. So to me, it looks like some Leo risings might experience a change in terms of work. Maybe you're starting a new job. Maybe you're starting a new project at work. Maybe you're starting to work with new people. Some of you might also experience a transformation of what your work entails. So let's say up until this point, you've been using certain tools or softwares and whatnot to go about your day-to-day work. Well, change incoming, essentially. I do believe the changes are kind of going to be implemented at a potentially slow and steady pace, but you may feel like you have to take some sort of action straight away because the new moon is going to conjunct Mars. Maybe you're going to have to talk to people, to your team, to your colleagues, to your manager straight away to know what is required of you. There is a possibility that the changes that are coming into your work sector might involve you traveling more, might have you spend more time away from home, might have you collaborate with people who are based in maybe different offices, different cultures, etc. I do believe there is a little bit of an element of kind of the unknown as to how these new rules, new structures, new projects are going to play out in the long term. But I also believe you've got basically the experience and the ideas and the energy and the courage to make things work, even if maybe part of you has a little bit of fear or a little bit of doubt. Now, this new moon can also put the spotlight on new habits. New habits, new approach to health and wellness, better habits. When I say better habits, Leos, especially Leo risings, I mean you're probably going to have to give up on something. Maybe it's something that you did to comfort yourselves, such as, I don't know. This is going to sound super basic, but maybe you like to drink every now and then. And let's not get into that because obviously I'm not a health expert. But you can try to kind of like justify it, like in any sort of manner. But your blood work might show that you would probably benefit from cutting that out. So you might commit to it. You might make a commitment and say, okay, I'm going to channel my energy elsewhere. I'm going to find a different outlet, I don't think I'm using this in the right context, so please forgive me if I'm totally misusing it. I think it's time to find a new coping mechanism on a day-to-day basis if you want to let out some steam and channel whatever buildup or pent-up energy you're carrying. I also believe that you are kind of very mentally motivated and focused on making change happen health-wise. And you might also approach some aspects of whatever changes you're looking to make via the psychological or emotional or mental health route. So if you've been struggling to basically implement new habits into your day-to-day routine, maybe you decide to go to a hypnotherapist and get them to help you give up smoking, for instance. That is just one example. So sometimes it's not about doing more, it's about sort of targeting the source, and the source might have something to do with what's happening on the inside. Last but not least, there is a possibility, Leo risings especially, that you're going to start working on something tangible and practical. It could be connected with, let's see. It could be connected with the house. It could be connected with your home. It could be connected with your property. It could be connected with maybe something that a family member needs from you. And you're kind of like stepping in and you're helping in tangible ways. For instance, renovate your parents' flat. Are you excited, even though you realize this is going to be a little bit of a burden on a day-to-day basis? I think you are. My dear Virgos, Virgo suns and Virgo risings, 18th of January, active 3 days before, 3 days after. Oh my God, we've got a new moon in your 5th house. Virgo risings. There is a comment that comes to mind. I think someone commented on the maybe January monthly horoscope, when I mentioned the 5th house, which by the way is the house of fun, enjoyment, entertainment. So this new moon is likely to put the spotlight on fun, enjoyment, entertainment, passions, hobbies, maybe also children, creative projects. So when I mentioned fun for Virgo risings I believe it's the January horoscope, but it could be another horoscope, they were like, no, I am not in the mood for fun at all. No, what are you talking about? I'm like, maybe that's the problem. Maybe you should make a commitment. You shouldn't do anything. Obviously, I'm just kidding, Virgos and everyone. Folks, you have free will. These are just suggestions, recommendations, and ideas as to how to use the cosmic energies, how to align with the cosmic energies. So if you feel like you're not having that much fun in life, if you feel like you're not experiencing that much joy in life, especially Virgo risings, this new moon is a perfect moment to say, okay, let me make a commitment to do more of what makes me happy, to do more of what I enjoy doing, to prioritize whatever fills my heart with content and pleasure. And I realize maybe it feels hard to figure that out when you've got Capricorn, when you've got Saturn as the ruler of your 5th house. Of course, there can be joy in achievement. There can be joy in accomplishing a goal. There can be joy in getting to the top of the mountain. So maybe for you, Virgo risings, joy does come with extra work. Joy does come with extra discipline. Joy does come with maybe an element of taking responsibility. But there is joy to be found out there. So I would recommend setting an intention to to carve out space and time. Capricorn is about space and time. Carve out space and time. Plan your fun time. Plan to do more of the activities that make you happy. Plan to maybe work with others in ways that make you happy. To collaborate with others in ways that make you happy. Plan to spend more time with the people that you love. This new moon is about love also. How do you love? Who do you love? How much time do you allocate to love? And maybe it is time to give love another chance, okay? Is there a possibility that some Virgo risings might meet someone on the romantic front? Yes. Is there a possibility that some Virgo risings might experience a reset of their romantic life, even if you've been in a long-term relationship with someone for years, let's say? Also, yes, go back to dating. Schedule time in the calendar every month to do the things that you know bond the two of you. Now, again, there could be someone coming in romantically. There is a possibility. So if you're not seeing anyone, there's a possibility that someone that maybe you're already familiar with could come in and say, hey, here I am. This new one is also putting the spotlight on passions and hobbies. If you like to be physically active, which you might, I would recommend maybe taking some sort of action in that regards. So let's say you like to play tennis. I mean, why not schedule some weekly kind of tennis classes for the next month or for the next few months. I also believe you're having a bit of a revelation as to what genuinely makes you happy, and I believe you're probably going to feel less, maybe, how should I say, judgmental or guilty about doing that. So there's all sorts of good stuff coming out of this new moon, my dear Virgos. Could this new moon also put the spotlight on children? Yes. Could it bring for some people news of pregnancy? There is a possibility, especially if you've been trying for a long time. Could there be maybe an unexpected pregnancy? Yes, because the new moon is an aspect also to Uranus, planet of surprises. Could you also maybe start collaborating with someone on a creative project around this time, and it feels like they kind of bring in an influx of new ideas when it comes to whatever it is that you're working on? Also very, very, very possible. But dare I say, Virgos, please, I mean, if you ask me, my major recommendation is have more fun, okay? My dear Libras, Libra suns and Libra risings, new moon in Capricorn, 18th of January, active 3 days before, 3 days after. This new moon, my lovely Libras, puts the spotlight on, well, home, family, living situation, roots. Some of you could start the process of maybe finding a new home. So maybe you're starting to go for viewings. Maybe you're thinking, oh, what sort of home do we need? Some of you could start working on something connected with the home, but you know that it will probably take a long time, Libras. So let's say you start redecorating and you're like, this is going to take a while to paint the walls, to find, I don't know, the best sort of like materials for whatever it is that you want to do around the house. You might also start being more of service in a kind of like practical day-to-day way to a family member. Maybe it's a parent that you decide to help with sort of the daily kind of like chores or do their grocery shopping for them. Speaking of parents, this new moon can put very much a spotlight on parents. Maybe a parent is starting a new job or a new health regimen, and you're kind of like there sort of fanning their flames. I believe that they do need a lot of fanning of flames, because even though this fresh start, maybe it's an important fresh start for them from a health perspective, maybe they have a lot of doubts, uncertainty as to whether they're going to be able to keep up with it or not. So all of that is very, very possible. lots of action happening around the house, around the home. Maybe you need to like travel, to talk to people, to reconnect with family members, to talk about next steps connected with home, family, property, and real estate. If you own multiple properties, let's say you're, I don't know, like a landlord potentially, someone new could be moving into one of your properties, or you might need to find a new tenant. That is a possibility as well. To me, it looks like things might need to be fixed and repaired around the house or replaced around the house. I also believe that you are not alone in this, Libras, so don't stress out if you're thinking, oh my God, how am I going to do all of this? It's like, no, reach out to the right people. I actually feel like you might need to create a little bit of a schedule and maybe even a plan in terms of who is required to bring into the home for very kind of like practical services, such as a painter, a plumber, etc. This new moon might also throw you kind of like back into the past. That's an interesting one. You might have some revelations regarding how your past influenced, how your family maybe influenced your approach to work, how your family and your roots influence your approach to health, influence your approach to being of service to others, making yourselves useful to others. And you might decide that you are ready for a change. You might decide after you have that aha moment, you're like, okay, so maybe growing up, we were taught that we should eat this, and that. And now I realize this maybe doesn't work that well for me, so I can break free of whatever conditioning I've kind of like, I grew up with, and do my own thing. So that is very much a possibility as well. My dear Scorpios, Scorpio suns and Scorpio risings, 18th of January, active 3 days before, 3 days after, we've got a new moon in your third house. I like this. I like this, Scorpios. Commit to something new. If you ask me, you don't have to do anything, but if you ask me how to use the energy of this new moon, I would commit to something new that you want to learn, something that you are very passionate about, something that maybe has been on your mind for a while. I always give this example, and I know I'm like a broken record, but hey, if you've always wanted to learn astrology, now is your time. Make that payment for that course and kick off the learning process. So a lot of you could begin a learning journey that you know is going to take long, that you know is probably going to take a while, that you know requires a great deal of commitment and consistency and discipline on your part. But part of you also feels like, if not now, then when? Time shall pass either way. It might as well pass in a pleasant manner and with a clear goal in sight that is aligned with what makes you happy, okay? Some of you could start taking driving lessons. Some of you could start also, this is very interesting, Scorpio risings. Some of you could start writing something very important. Maybe a creative project. It could be your novel. It could be an essay. It could be your thesis, but I feel like you are inspired, and you might be inspired even by the things that have hurt you in the past, maybe the experiences, the challenges that have caused suffering in the past, the challenges that maybe made you feel vulnerable, maybe even powerless in the past, and now you're like, I'm ready to talk about it. I'm ready to share it. I'm ready to open up about it. Speaking of talking about it, yes, I do believe this new moon might feel like a fresh start in terms of you finally being able to talk about some really difficult topics, but now you're kind of on the other side of it, and you might feel like it's actually very important to open up. I believe you have a lot of concrete things to say, and your tongue is going to be very sharp. And we know sarcasm is Scorpio's territory. We know, and I love it. But I'm a Cancer rising, so water energy in general speaks to me a great deal. This could also be the time when you take some sort of action connected with your child's education. Let's say you have children and maybe you sign them up for, I don't know, like Spanish classes or tennis classes, something that's got to do with their education, but maybe also has like a fun, kind of like playful, gamey kind of element to them. Some of you could also be buying new cars. If you are, please, please, please be conservative. Think about the fact that this car should last for a really, really long time. Think about the practical implications. The new moon can also bring in a fresh start when it comes to your relationship, your connection, your communication with siblings, colleagues, maybe even neighbors. And I do believe there is a very strong element of improvement here. Let's just say it. And you might even be able to get along much better with some of the people that historically you've had a hard time communicating with. It could be a surprise even to you. You're like, oh wow, I never wanted to talk to this person, and look at me now. My dear Sagittarius suns and Sagittarius risings. New moon in Capricorn, 18th of January, active 3 days before, 3 days after. Sagittarians, this new moon is saying, look at the money, look at your bank account, look at your expenses, look at your resources. I feel like this new moon is coming in with a new plan, new goals, new duties, new responsibilities, a newfound level of kind of discipline and consistency when it comes to your material situation. You have resources. Let's just put it out there. You've got money, don't get me wrong, you've got money, you've got resources, but I feel like you need a plan, or you need a better plan. Maybe you need a better spreadsheet. I keep on mentioning the spreadsheet today, and I'm like, why do I mention the spreadsheet? Because I don't have a spreadsheet. But I've heard people talk about the spreadsheet with the kind of like expenses and money coming in and money going out. So if that's your thing, great. I want to say that it would work really well for this new moon in Capricorn to make the spreadsheet your thing, especially when it comes to, like I said, revenue, expenses, outgoings. I think they're the same thing. Forgive me, because I'm not a financial expert in any shape or form, and this is not financial advice. This is me interpreting the astrology. There is a very high chance that some of you could start making more money around this time. But you might need to be very kind of cautious and practical with how you use it, with where you direct it, let's say. The reason why I believe you're making more money around this time is because, or there's maybe a chance to potentially put up your prices if you're working for yourselves, to charge more for your services. The reason why I say that is because Mercury, which is the ruler of your 10th house of career, is also conjunct the new moon. And we also have Mars there in the mix. It rules your 5th house. You're like, I deserve more. I know I'm really good at what I do, so I should be paid more. So it could be a time when you put up your prices, and at the same time you might set clear goals and intentions from a financial perspective. You're like, I need to save X amount of money every month because I am going to buy a house, or whatever it is. There's also a possibility you might cut some expenses connected with a home and family, because you want to direct the money someplace else. The other possibility is that you might cut some expenses in general and be more disciplined with money and finances, because you have some clear goals connected with your property sector, family life, maybe also connected with your kids. Maybe you want to send your kids to like tennis classes, and you're like, this is expensive. I need to budget for that, and potentially cut out some of the inessentials. Maybe you're like selling some things from the home that you're no longer using. If you're listening to this, Sagittarius risings especially, and you're thinking, I'm not making more money, like what is going on? I'm like, this could be a good time to, if you know you would benefit from it, if you know you'd benefit from more money, it's a good time to ask either for a raise or to start looking for a better paid job. And if you were to do that, you would probably find it, because the new moon is in a nice aspect to Uranus in your 6th house of day-to-day work, which might suddenly, unexpectedly, out of the blue, bring you something that pays better. There could be, even if you work for a large company, maybe an internal opportunity that you could take advantage of. So you don't necessarily have to go outside of the company, but now's your time to take action if you know you need more and you want more, monetarily speaking. Capricorns, Capricorn suns and Capricorn risings. Guess who's the star of this new moon? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And I know you're not necessarily looking for attention, Capricorns. You're more looking for results, for achievements, for accomplishments. To you, I say, Capricorns, this new moon is a very, very good time to put the spotlight back on yourselves, on your relationship with yourselves, on how you show up in the world, on not just, even though that's always probably going to be important for you, on not just kind of getting the job done, achieving that aim, achieving that goal, achieving that objective, but to come back and kind of like to look at yourselves and say, okay, like, who am I? What is the person that I'm turning into? What direction do I want to take my life towards? It's a good time to talk about it. It's a good time to maybe write it down. It's a good time to maybe share it with others. This could also be the time when you are essentially stepping into a new role, a new position. Your identity is going through a shift that has been a while in the making, maybe as of 2023, actually. And now you feel very comfortable with kind of like the place that it's landed you in. I do believe you are probably going to be a lot more gentle, tolerant, and kind and accepting of yourselves, Capricorns. I believe you actually should, but hey, that's just me. I mean, I know better than to tell you what to do with your lives, Capricorns. Essentially, I believe you have more kindness towards yourselves, or you're going to find more kindness towards yourselves. This is also a good time to revisit how you talk to yourselves. So are you being too harsh? Are you being too judgmental? Are you being too tough on yourselves? Maybe it's the time to kind of change your internal speech. Change the way that you address yourselves and be a friend to yourselves as opposed to being your own sort of worst judge, okay? This new moon is also conjunct, let's see. Dun, 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 dun. It is also conjunct Mars and Mercury. You could be stepping into a new role or into a new position, or kind of like feeling like your identity is growing and shifting and evolving. When it comes to your involvement with a group of people, with a community of people, I mean, I would not be surprised. Obviously, you're Capricorn rising. You're like, oh, I'm going to manage this. I'm going to be in charge. You might be in charge of some projects for a community of people, for an organization. You might start being in charge more of like projects connected with your work. Maybe there's more managerial duties that come your way. Are you ready for this? Yes. Yes. Yes, you absolutely are. The new moon is also in a nice aspect to Uranus. Not only are you being kinder to yourselves, but also more kind of prepared to take action even when you don't know exactly the full-blown sort of journey as to where you're going, where you're headed, what is every single step along the way that you need to take. So you seem to like trust yourselves more. I also believe that this new moon can bring in a fresh start when it comes to enjoying life more, having more fun, and finding pleasure and excitement in the things that happen along the way that you did not necessarily plan for or prepare for. I also believe that some Capricorns, especially Capricorn risings, as much as this new moon can bring in like new duties and new responsibilities, which you're probably going to handle superbly, some Capricorns might fall in love. Now, you might fall in love literally with a person, but you might also fall in love with something new and exciting, like a new kind of hobby, a new game. I don't know, maybe you start playing tennis or something along those lines. My dear Aquarius, fellow Aquarians, because I'm an Aquarius sun, new moon in Capricorn, 18th of January. What is going on? It is active 3 days before and 3 days after. Aquarians, I'm going to say this, especially Aquarius risings. This new moon is putting the spotlight on how you've been sabotaging yourselves, how you've been shooting yourselves in the foot, how you've been so far your worst enemies, okay? your worst hidden enemies, because now you're becoming aware of it. So maybe you've been working too much. Maybe you've been taking on too many burdens, too many duties, too many responsibilities. Maybe you've been too tough on yourselves. Maybe you've been too tough on other people, too cold, too maybe insensitive towards other people. Now, I'm not saying that was your intention, but maybe that's how it came across, especially when it comes to your relationships with, let's see, children, siblings, colleagues, maybe even romantic partners, my dear Aquarians. So now you might decide, okay, I'm going to make a commitment to address some of these issues. I know it's going to take a while to potentially improve the relationships with certain people, maybe even to kind of improve how you talk to yourselves, Aquarians, and what your sort of like inner speech looks like. But you have to start somewhere. This is actually a fantastic new moon to make a commitment to prioritize your mental health or your spiritual journey, or both of them. I'd say they can absolutely go hand in hand. Could it be a good time to go to therapy? Yes, absolutely. Could it be a good time to start kind of like digging through the past and figure out and maybe do this sort of like cold, objective, impartial self-analysis? Figure out how maybe you could have done better in the past, or what you can learn from the past, or what you can learn from sort of your ancestors, your family, your roots, what you should not continue doing in terms of patterns that have been passed on. Because some legacies are better discarded. They are better left off in the past, as much as they might tie us with our family, our roots, our past, and so on. Speaking of family, roots, past, maybe you need to talk to some people from the family. Maybe you need to schedule in or make a commitment to have the tougher conversations, the more difficult conversations, because otherwise they could be impacting your mental health. They could be keeping you up awake at night. They could be giving you insomnia, anxiety, all sorts of not nice stuff, when you would be much better off kind of like taking action and saying what you need to say and airing things out, and everyone benefits. I mean, if I were in your shoes, especially Aquarius risings, I would even take a little bit of a leap of faith and maybe sit down with a parent or an in-law and tell them about something that's been pestering you, that's been kind of like running through your head for a while. You might be so surprised to see that their reaction is not at all what you thought. It's actually much better than what you thought, and it is actually giving you peace of mind and maybe a way to kind of like work things out moving forward. Now, this new moon can also involve, for Aquarius risings, the beginning of a process of letting go of stuff. What are you letting go of? So you might start cleaning up things around the house. So a lot of donating, maybe throwing away if you can't donate or like recycle, just kind of like throwing away some of the things that you no longer need, that are kind of carrying the energy of the past that you do not want to take with you into the future, but maybe they're just also like broken things. So I do want to give you Aquarians, maybe I should give this advice to all fixed signs. From an energetic perspective, hoarding is not great, because hoarding comes from a space of, and you can completely ignore what I'm saying, okay? So please feel free to take it on board if it resonates. If it doesn't, feel free to like simply forget about it. Hoarding generally comes from a mental space of fear, of a scarcity mentality. It's like, oh, I've got to hold on to every single kind of piece of clothing and every single tiny little bit, because I might need it at some point, and what if I don't have it, and what if I don't have the resources to like buy it and whatnot. And basically, if you're hoarding stuff, you are not creating room, you're not creating the space in your life for better things to come along. And I'm not saying use something once and discard it. That is absolutely not what I'm saying. I'm talking about hoarding, okay? So clean things up, do a bit of a home kind of purge, if you will. This is also a good time to look at how you've been maybe sabotaging your material situation, my dear Aquarians. What are some expenses that can go? What are some expenses that are unnecessary? This might also be the time when you commit to helping someone from a financial perspective, and maybe it does feel like a little bit of a burden. I will say, maybe it feels like it ain't easy helping them in this way, but you might feel like it's your duty in some shape or form, and you might actually, you know what, I do believe you might potentially be paying off karma in this way, which is kind of a win. Pisces suns and Pisces risings, 18th of January, active 3 days before, 3 days after. This new moon is putting the spotlight on your 11th house. My lovely Pisces. Time to set goals. Time to set goals. The 11th house is all about hopes and dreams for the future and goals and objectives. Time to make a commitment to your goals for the future, because maybe you've been kind of like sitting on these goals for a while. Maybe you've been like, oh, I want to do this thing for myself. I want to play tennis every week, at least once a week. I want to carve out space for myself in my calendar. I mean, the Pisces Virgo axis is very service oriented. So sometimes one of the hardest things for you to do is do things for yourselves. And here is where I tell you, this new moon is saying do exactly that, because it's ruled by Saturn in your first house of identity, life direction, physical body. So it can be a great time to set goals and very kind of like serious that when it comes to your physical health, when it comes to your physical body, when it comes to your life direction. You might also commit to new goals that involve you managing, organizing something for a community, for a group of people, maybe managing a business. So you might be responsible for other people. You might welcome into your life new responsibilities when it comes to a group of people or a team or a community of people. But I do believe you're absolutely ready. I believe you've got the years, the experience, the bandwidth, and also the kind of emotional intelligence to run things for this group of people very, very well. You might also make a commitment to a friend or to your group of friends to maybe see each other more often. So it's a very kind of like practical commitment. Discipline also comes into play. So I feel like you're going to be more disciplined in the future, or at least that's what this new one is trying to nudge you towards. You're probably going to be more disciplined in the future when it comes to taking better care of yourselves, of your physical body, and maybe giving up on something physical body wise. What do I mean by that? Maybe it is time to give up on sugar or whatever your preferred addiction is. I'm not saying, I'm absolutely not taking addiction lightly, but what I'm saying is everyone's got a little bit of like kryptonite, okay? So what is your kryptonite? Pisces risings especially. Maybe start by cutting it down a little bit. So maybe you don't want to go sort of like cold turkey off of it, but you have to start somewhere. I do believe you are also kind of like taking some big action, some major action when it comes to your professional goals around this time. I am going to say it. And I believe you're not doing that on your own. You're doing that together with a group of people, a community of people, a team, maybe with a business partner. I feel like this is something that you would like to celebrate, but you're also sort of like cautious around it because you're like, oh, should I throw a party? Should we just get down to business straight away? This is also a very good time to focus on networking, and setting meetings, scheduling meetings, scheduling maybe like interviews with important people who can help you achieve your long-term goals. So time is precious. It is of the essence. You don't have any time to waste. Get organized. Put things in your calendar, send those emails, make those phone calls, and let's get this show on the road, my dear Pisces. Folks, I want to thank you for tuning in for your new moon update. Let us know in the comments how this new moon plays out for you. I'm very, very curious. And what are you committing to? What are you going to be more disciplined about? Let me know in the comments. If you're also active on Instagram and on TikTok, but I'm less active on TikTok, I am active on Instagram. If you want to see more updates from my life, more personal updates, my Instagram handle is ruxunbelievable, ruxunbelievable in one word. I love stories. I post on stories all the time. If you enjoy my content, my videos, don't forget to share, like, subscribe, all of that jazz. Please leave a comment. Let me know how you feel about this upcoming new moon. If you want to work with me, a quick reminder that you can do that by booking a personal astrological reading or a tarot reading. I also do tarot. Or a tarot reading via my website, which is written in the stars-astrology.com. You're also going to find the link in the description box and in the pinned comments. Thank you once again for tuning in, and I shall see you next time. Bye.